And then what have you witnessed or what have you encountered with, the fact that a lot of people, usually instead of asking for help and for support, they go the route of numbing themselves through, different substances available to us, whether they're legal or illegal. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of that. Like I did it myself for many, many years until I literally burned out so badly that I had no choice but to leave the industry. And it took me almost 2 years to recoup and then be like, okay, I still want to go back to the industry, but I'm going to do it differently this time. And then I came back and it was like a complete different experience because I implemented all that stuff that all the pain transformed into valuable lessons, all the suffering. It was so valuable, really. At the time, I probably couldn't see it. But now it's like, oh my God, because of this, it's who I am today, and it's because of that is because I had amazing 7 more years in the industry successfully, and I was going against the grain, I was like, watch me, motherfucker. Like, I'm going to do everything the opposite way because I know the way we've been doing it is the wrong fucking way. So, people were like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, I am. And look at me. And I succeeded, and now this is what I'm trying to teach other, well, not trying, I am teaching. Like, you don't have to do things the way you were taught to do. If you know that that's not the right way, you have the power to choose differently, to commit to do it differently, and to actually do it and embody that, right? Because like we tend to do things the way we were taught versus the way that we know should be done to create harmony and more balance within an industry that you said is so tough and challenging, because it is. No matter how we do it, there's going to be challenges, it's going to be tough, but we tend to work harder than smarter inside the industry. And a lot of people think they do it differently. And it's like, no, most of you guys out there, and I'm going to break it down to you, you're working harder. You're not working smarter. Because if you're having a hard time, that's your cue, and I've done 7 years of not doing that anymore. So I know it can be done. So anyway, what's your story around that whole thing of witnessing, or maybe you going through it where you were not able to ask for help and just kind of numbing yourself through different substances to continue to survive? Because it's almost like people are in survival mode within the industry.
Sure. I think, like if I were to say from my observation and being around a lot of, yachties, you said the word numbing, like a numbingness, or to numb what's going on. And I agree with that to a degree, but I think there's also another side of it where it's like escapism.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of getting away from what's going on, getting away from reality. And I think that ties into substances and alcohol. And it ties in well because of the culture of yachting. There's this, we work hard, then we're going, get wasted, and then we do it all over again tomorrow. And that's that culture. So I think it's like different factors that all kind of lead into one. And as well as a lot of these guys live on the boat, so it's their work. They don't really have a living room. They don't have their own space. So actually to get off the boat and go to the pub, it's like, whew, this is my freedom. This is my like, I can close the gate, I can close the door, and this is my time. So I feel,
which I find it really interesting, because usually you tend to get into yachting because you want that freedom, right? You want that freedom from the life that you're living. And then you basically enter almost like a prison, willingly, I must say, because nobody's there because, they have a gun in their head. It's like you're willingly saying, yeah, I want to be in a prison-like environment, because literally that's what it is in the basics of it. Obviously you're not imprisonment because you're willingly there, but like you said, it's like now the freedom becomes going to the pub, like it's insane.
and it's interesting, because, I mean, all that hard-earned money, all that cash, it can dwindle away. The amount of people that I have met in the past that
I'm gonna have to cut you off 1 second. I'm gonna put.
Yeah, so it's all that, like they come into yachting, a lot of people, not all of people, but to make some money, and then they've got these ideas or ventures that they want to do outside of yachting, and it just goes up their nose or into the pub's pockets, you know, and then they fall into the trap of, okay, another season, I'll do another season. And then it's kind of that cycle that people fall into time and time again. And the golden handcuffs is, which we've probably all heard, and it's so true. And people end up, they came into yachting to, you know, build a healthy base to do something else with, and they end up just getting back into that cycle time again. In my own experience, I wasn't having a good summer last year, and I was just sweeping it under the carpet. You know, things will get better, things will improve, someone's going to come and save me. That kind of, I didn't take responsibility for my actions, and that just built, and the writing was on the wall. And I went into work, it's pretty miserable for a couple of months, and I'm quite smiling, I'm quite animated, I'm quite, you know, like to think I'm fun to be around. And yeah, one of my colleagues just turned around to me and said, Dean, you've lost your shine. And those words, although he meant them in quite a subtle way and a nice way, they just cut through all those layers, and it really affected me in the sense that I had like a lump in my throat when he said that, because someone that kind of looked up to me, have a great chat, great bond, said that about me. It kind of really hit home that, okay, something's got to change, something's got to give. And that was the moment when I started to look into personal development. And that's what led me on this path to become the coach. But it took a lot of time for me to realize that it's on me, and I am my own rescue, as of you, as of everyone. And I can all the support in the world, but I have to be able to help myself first. And from there, I can use the support. But if I'm not willing to help myself, all the support and all the advice will just, you know, in one ear out the other. And that was a massive realization for me, that I had to take responsibility for my actions, and my actions was affecting other people around me as well. It wasn't just about me. And that was like the shift that kind of changed everything for me. But I felt numb. I would escape. I wouldn't really socialize. I would go into my room and write. That was my form of escape. But I just didn't want to face the truth, which was, when I think about now, is quite upsetting and sad, but I had to go through it. I had to crash. But yeah, it just changed the way I saw things, just taking that responsibility for my own well-being. That was the beginning, and that was the start.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, what comes up for me when you're saying this is that, you know, a lot of the times we want to escape, but we think that we're escaping from the job. We think that we're escaping from the long hours. We think that we're escaping from crew members. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. We love each other. We hate each other, but we don't want to hang out all the time together. And we do, because that's part of the job, right? You live and work together, and you even have a roommate, you know, so there's always one person that's always going to be there with you, you know, for the most part. And we think that we're escaping like our physical circumstances, but what we're truly wanting to escape is something deeper than that. It's those, if you want to call it demons, dark shadows, you know, trauma that's within us that are coming through, and we are just obviously not ready or not wanting to deal with them. So we just either stuff them and numb them through substances, or we escape. Because, like, I mean, there's people that do this through exercise. There's people that do this through becoming super anal about what they eat. You know, like there's some people do it through like self-care practices, which are not really caring practices, but they, you know, they it's like this mask around what's actually happening, right? So there's so many different, so what I'm trying to say is like, it's not that you're always going to be drinking and doing all this stuff to escape. You can be escaping in what it looks like or is perceived as something positive, but you're still escaping. So when you're doing things, I think it's very important. It's like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I wanting to do this? You know, is it a healthy escapism of like, I need a breather, I need to have my own me time? Or are you just trying to not deal with shit, shut everything down, and just survive? Because most of the people in yachting are just surviving yachting. They're not actually leaving yachting, which is what I did for many years at the beginning. And it was exhausting. And it led me to burnout, because what else is going to happen? You're going to burn out because you're like surviving, fighting, surviving, right? And when I came back, it was a complete different thing. But the key was self-development. The key was, I need to develop my own self in order to be able to be in this environment that I choose to be, because I wanted to be back in yachting. I loved yachting. There was so much about it that I enjoyed, and there's so much about it that I hated. But I hated it because I wasn't dealing with what was really inside of me. Once I dealt with it, that was no longer part of yachting anymore when I came to yachting. And then I became an amazing leader within the industry because of self-development. Because a lot of people think leadership is like, you know, taking a leadership course, knowing people's personalities. Yeah, that's part of it. But self-leadership is self-development. How the fuck are you going to manage other people when you don't even know how to manage your own self? And I think that's key, you know, because a lot of us are just in victim mode within the industry, right? We're always blaming somebody for whatever is happening to us. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing that. Yes, obviously there's an external cause, because you need a fucking mirror to your own shit inside, you know? But that doesn't mean that that is the reality of things. That is just a perception of something. And then you can say, okay, like for example, I had a person contact me the other day and they said, you know, I'm having a lot of sexual harassment happening to me. And I don't understand why. Like, I'm putting boundaries, or she thinks she's putting boundaries, and I'm doing all this, and I'm speaking my voice, and I'm telling the captain, like, this doesn't feel right to me, blah, blah, blah. But she says that they keep, you know, going over those boundaries. And I said to her, well, you know, more than likely, there's a lot of childhood development issues that are showing up for you within this mirror. And immediately she said, holy fuck, yes. Like, I thought I forgive and moved on. And I said, forgiving and moving on is not the same as actually working through the trauma and releasing it. You know, because forgiving and moving on is putting a band-aid on top of it. And then we have all these people in the industry showing us all the little things inside of us that need transformation, that are like, hey, I'm here, can you see me? Like, hello, I'm ready, you know? And the minute she realized that, she was like, oh, and she was like, okay, yeah, I need help, I want support. I was like, okay, let's do it. And then she said, well, I can't afford it, she said. And to me, when she said that, the words that I heard was, it's not that you can't afford it, it's that you're not committed to your growth. You're not committed to your growth. Because a lot of people say, I want growth, I choose growth. Great. Wanting leads to more want leads to more wanting. Choosing leads to, if you do it, okay. If you're doing, it's okay. But committing means that you are saying to yourself, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to show up no matter what happens. I'm going to follow through. That's true commitment. And that's when transformation actually happens. Choosing and wanting, great. That's just an awareness of things. But committing to it, you know, where when you heard those words, I was like, boom, 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 boom. And you're like, shit. That was the moment you decided, I'm fucking committed to my growth. This is not okay. I'm going to do it differently. Like, I'm tired of wanting it. I'm tired of choosing it and not actually doing anything about it. I'm committing to doing something. And I think that's like really important, because a lot of people out there, you know, I see them on their Instagram drinking rosé, new bikinis, whatever, living the life of luxury within the industry. But then they say that $150 it's outside their budget. I'm like, it's really not. It's just that you're not committed to your growth. You're just
Yeah.
committed to your Instagram life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But then get clear if you want change in your life and
Sure.
commit to that change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I can't afford it is exactly what you said. But what they're actually saying is they can afford it, but they're prioritizing other things before that. So the drinking rosé or the, you know, the swimwear or bikinis or whatever you said. So this is a common trend that I noticed. You know, I can't is actually they're saying something completely different. It's more that they won't. It's not that I can't, it's that I won't, or I'm not ready for that, or there's certain things that I'm a little bit nervous to confront, or there might even be things they're not even aware of, that they've limiting beliefs and traumas that they've suppressed and buried, because we all have them in some degree. They don't all have to be extremes of phobia, but they happen. You know, we're living beings, we experience these feelings, and you know, sometimes we process them in ways that are not helpful for us, and they're given to us. They're not even ours, but we've adopted them as our own. What I would say is what you were talking about before is everything is behaviors, patterns, habits, right? When I talk about behaviors, I mean habits. So we get into these habits that maybe we want to drink, or we want to do drugs, or we want to kind of escape or numb the pain or the feelings. So what I say to people is, rather than look at it as right or wrong, black and white, up and down, look at it as, are your actions or behaviors going to serve you? Are they going to help you get closer to that goal, or are they going to limit you and hold you back? And I think once you get into that mindset, things get a lot easier. And you said it as well yourself. You said it's not necessarily about the how, it's the why. Why are you in yachting? Are you there to get a career and become a captain or high up, like, you know, chief stew or whatever, chief engineer, whatever the case is? Or are you there to take the money, utilize this incredible platform, because it is incredible platform, and to go off and do everything that you dreamed of doing? Once you realize the why, it becomes bigger than yourself. The how is much easier.
The how flows. It just flows into you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And having that clarity, I think is something that a lot of people lack, you know, within the industry. Is like they had the why before they joined. You know, their why was like, I don't want to live the life that I'm living right now. You know, I don't belong here. Like, I want to do something new. I want to adventure something. I want to make money so I can do this XYZ. But along the way, they forgot about that why. And also along the way, the why changed.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I joined yachting, I was like, I'm going to do it for 2 years. That was it. Because I was going to go back and do my master's, you know, because I was utilizing that platform to gain certain knowledge that I wanted in order to go back to my master's. 2 years passed and I was like, I'm going to become a purser. Then a few years passed and I was like, the owner paid for my massage therapy school because he wanted a massage therapist. And I was like, I don't want to be a massage therapist. But the captain was like, you don't have to work here while you're in school. I was like, okay, fuck it, I'll do it. So that opened me to a whole different industry, which is the holistic industry. And then my why changed because I was like, oh, I don't want to be a purser anymore. I want to actually dive deeper into this. And, you know, your why may change and that's okay. But you always have to ask the question, why am I here? What am I doing this for? And then, like you said, it doesn't matter how it's going to happen because that's really not your job to know how. Your job is to know and get clear on your why. So your how, it just intuitively comes to you and you're like guided and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. Oh yeah, this is who I need to talk to, blah, 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 you know? But getting clear is what's going to bring you that open channel to bring on that how easily, I guess, versus struggling through it, which most of us do. And then the struggle is that we're in this hamster wheel of
Yeah.
making money, losing money, making money, spending money, making money, spending money. And then we're like, oh, just one more season. Oh, just one more season. And then that season is a massive struggle. And then you hate that season. And then you start hating yachting. And then you're like bringing that hate into the crew members that are like maybe newbies. And they're like, yeah, I'm new. And you're like hating on it, you know? And then they're like, oh my God, this is like really bad. And it's like, it's not. Yachting is not bad, period. It's what you make of it that either creates a positive environment within yourself or what we perceive as negative, which is really never bad, is just perceived as something that is not pleasant, I guess.
Yeah.
Because really the negative really always serves you to become better. Like without it, you would never grow and evolve, because pain is the driving force of growth, you know, in a sense. You know, yeah, you can grow from laughter, but you probably are going to grow deeper from the tears, you know, from the pain, from the suffering. It's like, oh shit, okay, yeah. And then moving from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel that once you're in that area of, I think once you're in your comfort zone, it's quite difficult to grow. It's when you're taken out of that. And sometimes it's harsh, it's cruel, it's tough at the time. But when you look back, there's always lessons in everything. There's blessings and lessons always. And if you choose to find them, if you seek, you shall find them, right?
Yeah.
But we also kind of, what happens is we focus on the negatives a lot. And when you're focusing on negatives, your brain is just magnifying those negatives. Mm-hmm. So it's that idea of positive attitude and thinking of things in a more optimistic way, because you'll see more of that. Of course, it's very easy me saying it right now, sitting from here, not doing an 18-hour shift. Right. I understand that. But there are tools and techniques, things like gratitude. If you can just be grateful for where you are, what happens is you're focusing on everything you have, not what you lack. And the second thing is that you're in the present. You can't be in the past, and you can't be in the future. You're right here, right now. And that sometimes that can start your day in such a better way. And it's tiny techniques. They're not going to transform your life, but they're going to put you in such a different frame of mind. And sometimes that shift is all it takes to get better results and just to feel better. So there's lots of little life hacks, I like to call them, but it's true. You know, where the focus goes, the energy flows.
And I think the most important thing is that a lot of people, you know, they hear these things and they're like, oh yeah, but it's like knowing them is not going to help you. Doing them is going to actually bring transformation. Like knowing that meditation exists, that breathing exists, you know, conscious breathing, because obviously you breathe without having to know how to breathe. And that in itself is like amazing miracle, you know, gratitude, all those things. But if you don't actually take the time to look at the horizon and say, holy shit, like how many people are looking out of a window and I'm here in this vast ocean, you know, and like just feeling, because it's not about thinking, it's about feeling, you know, because like you said, the attitude of positivism, right? And it's like a lot of people, obviously thoughts bring feelings. That's what thoughts do. They bring a certain feeling. So what we need to understand is that it's more important how you feel than what you think. Because if you're thinking, I'm beautiful, but you're not feeling it and you're feeling like you're ugly, that is what you're going to actually bring into your life, more of that ugliness. Because the thought is not what is perceived, is the feeling, is the energy of what you're feeling in the moment. So it's like, if you're grateful, are you truly feeling gratitude? You know, a lot of people think like you have to be grateful for so many things. Like, no, man, you can be grateful for the same thing for over a year. Who cares? The point is that it's bringing you the feeling of everything is okay. Like I am exactly where I need to be and everything's okay. And in that moment, nothing matters. Everything is okay, you know? And I think that a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of anxiety within the industry, especially among women. At least that's what I've seen a lot, like a lot of women with anxiety issues. And it's like anxiety only lives in the future. Only lives in the future. That means that you're not here in the moment. So, I mean, yes, anxiety can bring a lot of different physiological things, like literally you're feeling like you're having a panic attack, all sorts of things. But it's like anxiety is not the issue. Anxiety is the symptom of something within you that needs to be expressed. Because, like depression and stuff like that, what is that? It's a suppression of something. That is what depression is. Something is being suppressed so much that is causing you to have a different emotion and a different sensation in your body and mental health. But the moment you're able to express that out, the moment you're able to, unsuppress it, right? Which is expressing it, then everything shifts. And I know that because I was suicidal depressed. So I'm talking from my own fucking experience. I was on a yacht wanting to die. I don't even know how I was getting out of bed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to get out of bed. And I did it because at the time I was my biggest cheerleader, and I was getting help that wasn't helping because it was just bullshit talk therapy that was just like almost like basking me on the same stuff, but it wasn't transforming me. It was like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I was like, how many times do I have to say I'm depressed? Like, when is this going to change? And it wasn't until I committed to my growth and I said, you know what? This is not working. I'm tired of choosing the same shit over and over that's not working. I'm going to do something else. And I went and dived deep into different realms. And I actually took, I literally released the trauma from my body because that's what I did. That's when the change happened. But with that came a lot of challenges, a lot of pain, a lot of tears, a lot of suffering. It wasn't a fucking pretty journey. Will I do it over again? Absolutely fucking yeah. Because I am such an amazing person right now. And when I say like I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, people are like, oh, you're so egocentric. I'm like, no, I just love myself and I know that I need to praise myself. I don't need others to do that for me because this has to come from within myself in order for the world to reflect that to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's, I don't know. I just kind of went on a tangent.
No, it's interesting because it's not rocket science. And I say that with the most, I say that in like with the most amount of respect to people and myself, because the way you think affects the world, not only the world you see, but the world around you. If you change your thoughts, people will change to you. And it's a crazy thing when I think about it, because your thoughts determine your feelings determine your actions, and your actions determine your results. So it starts at the beginning with thoughts. So if your thoughts are wrong and askew and not where they should be, then down the line, your results are going to reflect that. And you used the mirror as a perfect example earlier, and it's so true. And your thoughts are governed by you. You cannot govern other people's thoughts. So again, that word responsibility is with you. And it's interesting because you have to go through these feelings. You have to go through these limiting beliefs that you've built up, these assumptions that you've made, and that voice that I talked about before, because, everyone has one. I thought that I was a bit mad when I would read a book and I could hear my own voice in my head narrating, and it still catches me out. And I stop and I think, is that my voice? Is that someone else's voice? So we all have it. But this voice, it's not your enemy. It's your best friend. It's going to be with you everywhere you go, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's with you. So and I think there's this like fight with that. For a lot of people, they see it as their enemy. And I think I did with me as well, in my own voice. But it's your best friend. And you talking about like telling yourself that you're beautiful, you're amazing, that you've got so much to give to the world is so important, because the world out there, by and large, is quite a negative place. People are more likely to want to bring you down than to praise you and reward you and give you compliments. It happens, but generally, it doesn't happen all the time. So it starts with you. And, I always say to people is that keep the promises you make to yourself, because how can you promise other things to other people when you can't rely on your own promises? And that could be, I'm not going to drink tonight, or I'm going to get up early, go for a run, or I'm going to eat better. It could be anything. But 9 times out of 10, we break these promises to ourselves. And that kind of devalues the trust we have in ourselves. So if we don't trust ourselves, then we're not going to trust others. And I kind of think that comes back to talking out to people, because if you don't have trust in yourself, I'm more than likely not going to have trust in other people, because I think that they're thinking the same as I am. So it all kind of interlinks, which I've kind of gone off a bit on a tangent, but it's weird. And we have to value ourselves and love ourselves, because it's not going to work.
No, but it's so important, because I really want to bring this, into focus. If you are feeling that you can't talk in your environment, stop and go inward and see where within you think or you believe, because you have to believe it, that it's not okay to speak up. Because if you think about it, when we were kids, most of us were told, you don't talk. Your voice is not okay. Your voice is not validated. So by, organically, you're going to have that. It's going to show up in your life. And as an adult, you're not going to be able to express, because if as a child you weren't able to express it, it's not going to happen as an adult, unless you say, oh, wait, I can speak up, and you choose differently, and you nurture that part of you, the little part of you that needs to be nurtured when it wasn't nurtured, and how it wasn't nurtured. And then you're able to talk. But I think it's, before blaming the industry, before blaming your superiors, step back, go inward, and then, okay. And then if you find your voice, and hopefully you do, then voice it out. And if the person or the people around you are not supporting you or wanting to support you, then it's time to move on and create a different reality, because maybe they were just there for you to be able to speak up.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then you have to move on and create a different environment for yourself. But instead of blaming, because we love blaming, we love victimizing ourselves. Oh no, they're doing that to me. Me, no, I'm good. I'm just the poor victim here. So, well, I mean, do you want to keep being the victim? Like, fuck, remember, you're your own creator. Like, you're powerful than you can imagine. That's why you're scared of it, because you're more powerful than you can even fathom. It's like, stop victimizing yourself, take responsibility, which is the keyword, I think, of this show. It's like response, and what is responsibility? It's like the ability to respond. It's like, when we're victimizing ourselves, we're constantly reacting. We're not responding. We're reacting. We're like fight or flight, right? We're like survival mode, versus responsibility means okay, I'm going to step back. I'm going to ask myself what's here for me. How can I handle this? And then you take action from that alignment, right? That is truly what responsibility means. It's like, not responsibility doesn't mean paying your fucking bills, that doesn't mean that. Responsibility means the ability to respond from a place of alignment within yourself. That is true responsibility. And I think that is one thing that many of us in yachting should be looking at, and finding, like you said, committing to yourself to self-develop. And then from that place, you're going to be able to find the right support and be able to receive that support and be open to that support that probably was always there. But like you said, you're just because you're not open to receive it, you're obviously not going to even see it. And then from that place, then you can create a different yachting experience for yourself. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as well, is that how you perceive the world is very differently to me. We all perceive the world in such a different way, and we have these brain filters, and the free ones are distortion, deletion, and generalization. So basically, once we're in this I dare say, negative frame of mind, we're distorting the world to meet our beliefs. We're deleting information which doesn't really kind of marry up to what we think and say. And then we're generalizing, like, you know, I could say all boats are bad, all captains are cruel, all crew are alcoholics.
Exactly.
So those three combined, we're completely recreating this world around us. And that, again, is not how other people see it. So you know, I'm quite an internal person, and I have a lot of things going on in my mind, and I create these assumptions and stories, and that itself limits us. It really, really limits us. And if we can stop, as you said, and be more proactive rather than reactionary, we just stop and we think about what's happening, put ourselves in different crew members' shoes, see it from a different angle. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe there's good intention from this person that's shouting at me or wants me to do well. Maybe they're trying to encourage me. Maybe I'm not taking ownership, the responsibility. So there's so many things that can go on, but it starts from within. And our thoughts literally determine everything around us. And if we're more aware of it, we're going to get things wrong. We're going to make mistakes. But if we stop, we give ourselves even 10 seconds just to think about what's going on, we're more likely to have a positive outcome, and our actions and our results will be evidence of that.
Yeah.
So if you're in that pattern and you keep on doing this over and over again, stop doing it. Do something else. If it's not working for you the first time, change it, because that is the definition of insanity. Yeah. It's to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Exactly. It's just not going to work out for you.
And like you say, you know, sometimes putting ourselves in a different shoe, because like I remember I had this captain that, you know, every time he spoke to me, I always felt that he was what was the word? Like putting me down, you know, kind of thing. That's how I was feeling. Obviously, this was my filter. And then I said, okay, like I'm gonna stop victimizing myself, because obviously, you know, I know better. And I'm gonna ask him, what is his intention behind the way he speaks to me? You know, and I said, hey, listen, like when you say such and such thing, word by word, you know, what he said, not what I perceive that he said. This is how I'm perceiving it, you know, how I'm feeling. Is this your intention, or what's the intention behind what you're trying to tell me, you know? And in that moment, I gave him the safe space to show up differently. And he said, I'm so sorry. That was never my intention. This is what I mean when I say this stuff. I was like, oh, okay. And it was like that moment of two people becoming responsible for their actions and showing up differently to create harmony within the you know, the environment. And it was like, oh, okay. And then other crew members like, oh shit, like I didn't know we could do that with him. I was like, you can, you just have to you know, want to do it. You have to choose, you have to commit to showing up for yourself that way. And that's, you know, it's so simple. It really is, you know, like you say, it's not rocket science, but it's, the challenge is in choosing and committing to it. That's the real challenge, you know, on taking that action of like saying, okay, I'm scared of doing this, but I'm still going to do it, you know, because being scared is just almost like having fuel propelling you to do it, you know, like when people do extreme sports, they're scared. But that is what brings them to the edge of saying, like, I'm going to do it, you know, because being scared, you know, fear and excitement feels the same way. The same way. You just perceive it differently. But if physiologically, it feels the same way. You have things in your stomach, you know, like whether it's excitement or fear, you feel the same way. You're sweating, you're like, you know, anxious because obviously you're thinking of something in the future. But you perceive it as like, okay, this is not fear. I'm going to perceive it as something that I'm excited to do, and I'm going to go do it. And I think that's, you know, that's really important because, you know, when we victimize ourselves, we assume that they're doing this X, Y, and Z to us, versus like, have you asked? Have you given them the choice, the space to speak with you? You know, because a lot of the times I see crew members having a talk and it's just like little kids, right? Like, you did this to me. No, you're doing that to me. You're doing this to me. And then nobody ever gets to a harmony point because nobody's taking responsibility of their actions, you know? And I think that's the key, I think, of like I said before, of this show. It's like, take responsibility, people. Like, that's it. And if you do need support, you have Dean to support you to get there. And there's obviously a lot of other coaches and people through the Yachts Mermaids support directory that you can find out. So yeah, just, you know, commit to your growth and find the support that you need. So Dean, thank you so much for sharing all this awesome wisdom with me. Can you tell us a little bit about how people can work with you if they want to knock on your door and be supported by you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, like, for those that, you know, have reached out to people and have not got the answers or the support they need, is that, you know, I would say is don't suffer in silence. I think that's the one thing that from my own story, I've done a lot of that. And to reach out to someone, it doesn't have to be a crew member, but someone that can hold space, that you can just, you know, talk or just get things off your chest or whatever it may be. So yeah, never suffer in silence. But yeah, you can contact me on Facebook. Or you can email me, I guess, is dean.mids@gmail.com, and that's dean.midds@gmail.com.
We'll have all the links below, so if you guys want to contact me, you can just click on it.
And yeah, just reach out to me. You can ask me, pick my brains. I have a lot of clients that are yachties, so yeah, it's an area that I'm obviously connected to and interested in. And yeah, if I can add value and help, you know, alleviate, even if that's just that little bit, then don't hesitate to reach out and contact me, and I'll be happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that's it, people. I know that this is different from the last two episodes, but it's definitely something that it needs to be talked about, and definitely something that we need to be more active on, you know, taking responsibility, self-developing, and changing that filter that is causing us to have a not so good experience within the yachting industry, you know, because it is an amazing industry and it is our responsibility to make the best out of it, you know, and to create a better environment for those to come, because it's not going anywhere. So it is our responsibility to make that pathway for them the way that other people have done for us, you know. So thank you, Dean, again, for being part of the Uncensored show. Until next time. And if you want to contact Dean, just click on the links below and get going. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye-bye.